thank you for having us in and letting us talk for just a few minutes about some of the things we'd like to accomplish next year. Emily and I both joined student government last year and got involved, and we're kind of frustrated with the organization. It does some good things, but we were kind of frustrated with some of the aspects of it where we felt like when we were talking to people outside of USG especially, the reputation that it kind of has that people in USG hold themselves here and everyone else down here, and so we kind of didn't like that route. We were frustrated with kind of the organization running slow and not getting as much done as it could get done, and part of that's just it being a government. But so we decided this year that we wanted to run because we want to reach out and include more organizations and bring that service element to USG. Both of us are pretty big on community service and outreach and engaging the larger Ohio State community of 50,000 students. So that's kind of been our primary focus in running, is trying to reach out, trying to broaden that group of people, trying to bring USG down to basically to being normal. And not being political science majors or people who are holding themselves above other people.
Yeah, and we're coming up on like a huge year in student government. We're seeing budget cuts and we're coming up on the semester conversion, and Nick and I just feel that it's really important that students from across the campus are involved in the decision making. We don't want the same 100 students kind of being recycled into student government again. We want to try and reach out and make sure that as many people as possible can be included in the conversation.
So part of our strategy has been with our team for the campaign, bringing in students who are really experienced in running other student organizations and being involved in other parts of campus to help develop our goals, to help kind of plan the campaign, with the thought that maybe after the election we can bring those students from other organizations who have a lot of experience in other communities and places on campus into student government. Some of our big things we'd like to accomplish are realistic goals in terms of addressing affordability next year, with the budget cuts, with tuition increase looking like it's likely. We'd really like to address affordability, but in a realistic way and not promising to lower tuition or anything kind of crazy. The biggest way we think we can do that is addressing textbook costs, and that's kind of just the power of organizing students and connecting students. So we'd like to start the Buckeye Book Swap program or Book Swap program here in the Union. Students at the beginning of every quarter could bring textbooks in. We scan them into a system, they get posted online, then throughout the first week they could come buy books from other students at a reduced rate and kind of get cut out the bookstore margin of profit, which would really save students about $80 a quarter on average, which we think would be great. And that's a huge way we can address affordability, and it's pretty realistic and not kind of pie in the sky. So we're excited about that. Another huge thing coming up for about half the campus will be the semester transition in 2012.
Yeah, Nick and I will both be here, so we have really vested interest in making sure that students are able to complete their courses and graduate on time. That's every student's main goal, is to get their degree, get out of here on time, make sure that they can get into the job cycle right at the end of spring semester. So Nick and I want to implement My Switch if we're elected. So what that would be is a website, interactive, where you could put in your major and the classes you've already taken, and then it would swap you over and let you know what you need to take to complete your degree on time under the semester. So when we switch to semesters, we're going to see a lot of people going to their advisors, and it's going to be booked, and it's going to be really difficult to get everybody in. And what you find a lot of times is you schedule an appointment with your advisor, you'll go there, and then afterwards you'll find you have another question, and you don't want to go back and have to reschedule again. So My Switch would enable you to kind of have another way to figure out your schedule and your graduation plans without actually physically having to go to your advisor every time you have a question or concern about your scheduling and your classes, especially as we move to semesters.
Yeah. So, and then on top of that, we have a whole website of things. I don't want to take too much time, but we want to continue to work with the university on some broader policies on the sexual violence policy and bringing all those resources to the same place. Talking about the new housing plan that's being released, talking about what we're doing with students who are living on campus, dealing with the complications that come with the proposed 2-year live-in requirement, and really just continue to deal with all kinds of student involvement on campus. We kind of come into it understanding we don't have all the answers. We're not getting elected because we, are the smartest people on campus and we know everything about everything. So we're really trying to bring students who do know a lot about different areas together to try to answer and solve some of these problems.
Hey everyone, my name is Kevin.
And I'm Andrea, and we're running, obviously, for student government.
We'd like to just bring up a few things. First, obviously we're switching semesters in 2012. And we want to be the incredibly strong advocates for every undergraduate student to make sure no one gets left behind in the semester transition. We think this is the biggest and should be at the forefront of every discussion. We want to make sure that the university basically keeps its promise that it made when it pledged to switch to semesters that no student will be left behind academically, socially, or involvement-wise. And so we want the university to set some realistic benchmarks immediately this spring, and then through the next year we want to work and hold them accountable to the goal. So if they say they're going to boost advising, how much are they going to boost it, and where are they going to get the advisors from?
Yeah, furthermore, we're here to advocate on behalf of students for affordability, like was spoken before, from the state level, maybe a freeze in tuition, but even more realistically, a no increase in student fees, which is kind of just like tuition, it adds on fees that students have to pay every single year. And as textbook affordability and enforcing the Higher Education Opportunity Act, which mandates that once you register for a class, so in a couple of weeks when everyone's able to register, you should have your textbooks listed already so that you can order them a whole quarter almost in advance before you actually will be using them. So you have plenty of time to plan, to order them, to figure out where you want to get them from.
Great. And thirdly, we think USG should be overall more open, transparent, and better communicating student government. We think every student at this university should know what USG is, what they are doing, and what they plan to do for the rest of the year. And I know that seems like a lot to go, but I think it really is realistic. If you just think about it, we can send out an email to every student. We want to do that at least once a month, basically just saying what USG is, what we're doing, what we plan to do.
Thank you.
So my name is Melissa Kellums. I'm running for the vice presidential seat for student government, and Jake, my running mate, who's not here right now, is running for president. When talking about kind of transparency and bringing in new people into the organization, we have a slate of about 38 senators that are also running with us on our slate, and actually none of those students are current sitting senators. So we really want to make sure that we have a new voice entering student government and allowing those students to bring what they have to the table and kind of have a fresh face. When we're talking about inclusion, also there's a program that Jake and I really want to implement, and it's basically having a fireside chat. So we realize that not every student is involved. Maybe they go to school and work and that's it. And yet there's still a lot of problems that they have to face. And we recognize that as their representatives, it's our duty basically to listen and carry out the needs that they have. And so by sitting down, we would have a meeting about once a month where we meet either on or off campus, and it just invites students to come and talk to us and share their problems. And it could be something as simple as a problem that they're having in the residence halls or a problem that they're having with campus dining. And we can point them in the right direction to alleviate that problem, or maybe it's a very serious issue that needs to be addressed through the entirety of student government, and we can take the appropriate channels in order to rectify their problems. And then kind of looking at just alleviating some of the convenience issues both on and off campus. Something that we really want to do for off-campus students is create a Rate My Landlord website. So it would be very similar to Rate My Professor, where students are actually able to have feedback on a rolling basis when something happens and not have to wait until the end of the year for USG to put out the renter's guide. We also want to make sure that people can pay their rent online, and really working with the local banks and landlords to do that, because it's the 21st century. We recognize that it's not always safe to just drop your check in a box and have a bunch of them laying on the floor of your landlord's office. So that's one of the things that we want to accomplish. Also, when talking about student safety, the sexual violence policy is something that's on a lot of students' minds. And currently, there is no real concrete sexual violence policy. We want to make sure that the university not only has one in place, but that it's being enforced effectively. Currently, for example, if a student were to commit an act of sexual violence in the dorms, the policy is that they would be moved to another dorm. And that really makes the problem cyclical. We want to make sure that the university is taking responsibility for its students and ending the problem. So I guess just finally to wrap everything up, there's a lot of things that we want to do on and off campus, but Jake and I are really concerned mostly with students that are going through the semester switch. And probably the biggest area there is the contract to graduate. And so currently the contract to graduate that a student would fill out with their advisor is not uniform for all of the colleges. So students who want to be dual degree, or students that switch their major during the switch, might have to be forced to go through a completely new set of standards in order to graduate, which could really set them back beyond the 4 years that it would normally take a student to get out of college. And so really making sure that the university stays accountable to its students and that undergraduate student government takes up its part in allowing students to have the best opportunities and not have to worry about all the other problems that they have, so they can really be involved and kind of foster their involvement here.
Great, thank you.